Even though most people don't know who Doris Day's grandson is, his link to the famous actress has always been interesting. At age 41, he is finally telling people what they have long thought about him. We now know more about a side of Doris Day that few people knew about, from his private life to his bond with his famous grandmother. Let us look more closely at what he says and why it's making people talk. Her birthday is April 3, 1922, and she was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Frederick Wilhelm Kappelhoff was a music teacher and choir master, and Alma Sophia Veltz ran the household. Both of her parents were German. Doris was the third child in a family of three. Her brother Paul was a few years older than her and died before she was born. Doris had a hard childhood because she grew up in a simple home during the Great Depression. Their marriage was having problems and they ended up getting a divorce, which was very unusual at the time and had a big effect on young Doris. Even though things were hard for her, she found comfort in dance and singing, which would become important parts of her life. Doris won a dance event when she was 12 years old by standing on her hands for more than 3 hours. She got free dance lessons because of it. This win showed how determined and strong she was. But when she was 14, she was in a terrible car accident that broke her leg and stopped her from becoming a professional dancer. Doctors thought about cutting off her limb, but after several surgeries, she had to stay in bed for more than a year. During this time when she couldn't move, Doris started singing and found motivation in Ella Fitzgerald's songs. Alma put her daughter Doris in music lessons with Grace Rain because she knew her voice was good. Grace saw Doris's amazing talent right away, which paved the way for her future in singing. By the time she was 15, Doris was singing professionally and making $5 a night at a Chinese restaurant nearby. One night, she caught the attention of band leader Barney Rapp while singing at a nearby bar. Rapp wanted her to be his female singer because he liked her voice, but because she was too young, Doris had to pretend to be 18 in order to act in places that served alcohol. This shows how determined she was to take advantage of opportunities. In 1939, when she was 17, Doris took on the stage name Doris Day at Rapp's suggestion, after singing the song Day After Day. At first, she was hesitant to use the name, but it quickly became associated with Hollywood fame. Doris Day joined Les Brown's band on March 15, 1940, when she was only 18 years old. This was a big turning point in her career. She got over her stage fright and wowed the band leader with her version of Embraceable You, which earned her the lead singer's spot. Her time with the band was full of both happy and sad events in her personal life. In 1941, Doris got the terrible news that her brother Paul had died in a car accident while she was on tour with the band. Even though she was sad, she decided to perform that night, and her performance was so moving that it made people cry. Her work became known for how tough she was. Doris had her first big hit in 1945 with Sentimental Journey, a song that spoke to soldiers coming home from World War II. It's interesting that she recorded the song while she had a cold, which gave her voice a unique husky sound. In its first year, the song sold more than 1 million copies, making her a real growing star. In 1947, Doris started a solo career by making a 7-year, $1 million deal with Columbia Records. This was the first time a female artist had ever had a deal like this. At first, she had trouble with the songs that were chosen for her because she thought they were dull and out of date. After pushing for more modern music, she recorded It's Magic, which became a huge hit, selling over 2 million records and getting her nominated for an Oscar. It's amazing that she recorded the song in just one take, which stunned everyone in the studio. She was able to get into Hollywood because of her singing career. Singers Jewel Stein and Sammy Cahn suggested her for the movie Romance on the High Seas in 1948. Even though Doris had never been in an audition before, director Michael Curtiz chose her for the lead part and called her the most perfect girl I've ever seen. The movie's success was the start of her long and successful career in movies. During the 1950s, Doris was the lead in a number of popular shows, such as Calamity Jane, 1953, and The Pajama Game, 1957. She did her own stunts, and even broke a rib while shooting Calamity Jane, in which she played a brave frontierswoman. The movie made over $37 million at the box office. The Pajama Game, which helped it make $5 million and solidified her standing as a leading lady in Hollywood, showed off her versatility even more. America may have thought Doris Day was the sweetheart, but her personal life was anything but a dream. She had sadness, betrayal, and a string of bad relationships that made her feel helpless in her own life, even though she had a beautiful smile and seemed to be charming all the time on screen. When she was 17, she married trumpeter Al Jordan. It was the start of a long spell of pain. Doris was deeply in love, even though her mother strongly advised her not to. What really happened, though, was much worse. Jordan was angry, demanding, and sexually abusive. He hit her for the first time the day after they got married. After that, the bloodshed got worse. At every turn, Jordan accused Doris of cheating on him, and his anger got out of hand. Doris was attacked by Jordan in one of his worst episodes while she was pregnant with their only child, Terry. He wanted her to have an abortion, and when she said no, he hit her so badly that she almost lost the baby. When she was 8 months pregnant, he drove her to a remote area with a gun and said he would kill them both. Doris was able to get away because she was quick-thinking and had strong instincts to stay alive. She would never be the same after that, and even though she had a healthy boy in February of 2942, she knew she couldn't stay in the marriage. She asked for a divorce and hasn't looked back since. But the hurts Jordan gave her didn't go away. In retrospect, Doris would say that she could never sit easily in the front seat of a car again without thinking about that scary night. She got married to artist George Weidler for the second time, which seemed like a new beginning. They met through his bands, and he seemed like the kind of friend she was looking for. But soon after they got married in 1946, Weidler became cold and withdrawn. It was the last straw when he said he couldn't stand being married to someone more famous than him. They got married for 8 months and then split up. Doris was really upset. Then Martin Melcher came along. He would change her life in ways she never thought possible. It looked like he loved her because he adopted her son Terry and became her boss for almost 20 years. She put all of her trust in him, but she had no idea that he was lying to her, not knowing that Melcher and his business partner Jerome Rosenthal were quietly mismanaging Doris's money. They were investing and running fake businesses with her money without her knowledge. Her whole wealth, which is more than $150 million today, was going away. But that wasn't the end of the deception. Melcher died suddenly in 1968, and Doris found out the whole truth about the lie. She found out that not only did she have no money, but Melcher had also quietly signed her up for The Doris Day Show, a TV show. She would not have been able to keep the promise without her permission, but it was the only way to pay off the huge bills he left behind. Rosenthal was sued by her for a long time, and in 1974, she was given $22 million in damages. But because of how the insurance company negotiated, she only got a small part of that amount. Still, the mental damage could not be fixed. Doris was once the most successful woman in Hollywood, but the guy she trusted the most broke her heart and lied to her. As Doris Day's fame in Hollywood faded, she focused on a different cause, helping animals. That she had always loved animals, but it was a bad event in her youth that made her even more determined. Tiny was her dog when she was young, and he was killed when a car hit him. Doris was really upset. From that moment on, she never forgot how powerless she felt. As she got older, she vowed to spend her whole life protecting animals. Doris never turned a blind eye to animal pain, not even when she was in Hollywood. She was shocked by how badly animals were treated on set of The Man Who Knew Too Much in Morocco. She wouldn't keep working until something was finished. The animals were properly cared for, and her requests were met, showing not only her power but also her strong moral compass. In 1978, she started the Doris Day Pet Foundation out of her love for animals. A small group of people working together to help local rescues quickly grew into a bigger force. Later, the group changed its name to the Doris Day Animal Foundation, DDAF, and started working on bigger problems, such as programs to spay and neuter pets to stop them from having too many babies. She started World Spay Day in 1995 as a way to get more people to know how important it is to spay and neuter pets. The movement spread to more than 70 countries and made the lives of millions of animals better. Doris made her house in Carmel Valley, California, a safe place for animals in need. A lot of dogs were saved by her and given a safe place to live. There were times when she had 30 dogs at once and gave each one the love and care it needed. Doris may have left Hollywood, but her voice in the fight for animal rights only got stronger. She pushed for changes to the law, spoke out against animal abuse, and used her fame to bring attention to the cause she cared about most. Doris kept using her time and money to help protect animals even after she got older. She shocked everyone when she released a new record called My Heart in 2011. She was 89 years old at the time. The album had songs that had already been recorded, including some that were written by her late son, Terry. The very personal album did well at the stores, making Doris the oldest act to have a new album make it into the top 10 in the UK. Even though she was successful, she kept to herself and avoided interviews and public events. On her 97th birthday in 2019, she made her last public appearance. She thanked her fans for keeping up her work. After only a few weeks, she died gently at home. Her influence went far beyond Hollywood. She did more than just act and sing. She spoke up for people who didn't have a voice. People remember her for her beautiful voice and contagious smile, but those who really knew her knew that her most important job was saving animals' lives. But even as Doris worked hard for the cause she cared most about, there was a dark cloud over her last years. A nasty family fight was going on behind the scenes, and her only grandson, Ryan Melcher, would be cut off from her life. That sad truth came to light when Doris Day died. Doris Day's last years should have been filled with love and joy, with her family and the animals she loved by her side. But something scary was going on behind the pretty scenes in Carmel Valley. Ryan Melcher was her only grandson. He had grown up admiring his grandma from afar, but for more than 14 years he was shut out of her life. When Doris died in 2019, the sad truth came out. Ryan found out about her death on Facebook just like everyone else. Ryan's painful discovery proved what he had already thought for a long time. Someone was keeping him from seeing his grandma. The trouble started when Terry Melcher, Doris's only child, died in 2004. Terry, who is a well-known music composer, had always been there for his mother. Their relationship had its ups and downs, but they were still very close. When Terry died, there was a hole in Ryan's relationship with Doris. Without Terry as a link, the two started to drift apart. Just a short time after Terry's death, Doris apparently tried to make things right by inviting Ryan to dinner. Ryan had been looking forward to this moment since his parents split up in 1997. His relationship with Doris had gotten tense, but this dinner offer gave them a chance to get back together. A man named Bob Bashara got in the way before Ryan could even see his grandma. Doris's business manager, Bashara, called Ryan to a private meeting at the Cypress Inn in Carmel, which Doris co-owned as a small hotel. There, someone asked Ryan, "Why do you want to see Doris?" Ryan replied, "Because she's my grandmother," which was met with a cold and calculated question. The answer he got was devastating. As a result, Bashara told him that he could not see her. Ryan's parents in past family fights were to blame, he said. Ryan could no longer talk to his grandmother after the meeting finished. Attempts to get back in touch over the years were met with silence. Bashara was said to have tightened his grip on Doris's life by putting up security walls around her house and making it harder for people to get to her. The star, who had once been friendly and spent decades giving her heart to fans and animals alike, was now all by herself. Ryan knew he would never get to say goodbye to Doris before she died in 2019 at the age of 97, but the hurt of the years they had lost was very heavy on him. In the days after she died, Ryan broke his silence in a Facebook post that told the painful truth about how far apart they had become. People were upset by what he said because they had always thought of Doris as a loving, family-oriented woman. To all those who have asked, I received the news of my grandmother's passing like most of you on social media. I was not permitted to see my grandmother for 14 years thanks to her manager, Bob Bashara, who also handled her estate and controlled access to her life. There is so much more to the story, but it's a heartbreaking truth I have to live with. Longtime fans of Doris Day were shocked by the news. Why couldn't a woman whose kindness and love were known be with her grandson? Why didn't anyone else say anything about it? Bashara, for his part, said he did nothing wrong. He said that many times Ryan and Doris had been tried to get back together, but Ryan had turned them down. He brought up an old post on Ryan's website in which he asked people not to get in touch with him about Hollywood or his famous grandma. But many people were not sure. Some people thought that Doris might have just wanted to get away from everyone because she always wanted her own space. Others, though, thought that the people around her had taken advantage of the fact that she was alone. There is no doubt that Doris Day, one of the most famous people in American history, spent the last few years of her life without ever seeing her only grandson. She did this by controlling her relationships with others and only letting a few people in. Ryan had a lot of questions and a deep sense of loss after she left. At age 41, Doris Day's grandson finally says what we all thought. His grandmother's later years were not as peaceful as they seemed. For years, everyone saw Doris as the picture of happiness, a star whose positive attitude and heartfelt acts made millions of people happy. But the painful truth of her last years, being alone, having limited access, and having many unanswered questions, has left a sense of mystery that won't go away. Ryan Melcher kept thinking about the time he lost with his grandma after she died. He often wondered if she had ever asked him why he stopped coming to see her. Had they really kept her in the dark, or had she just decided to cut ties with her family? Some people, like Charlie Cullen Walters, who has been Doris's spokesman for a long time, say that Ryan's account of what happened is not the whole truth. Walters said that Ryan and Doris had been tried to get back together, especially around her 90th birthday in 2014, but Ryan had decided to stay away. Still, some family members think Doris's boss had a lot more power over her life than most people thought. No matter who did it, the end result was the same. Doris Day and her grandson were kept apart, and they will never be able to get back together. Despite the problems in her family, Doris's last years were marked by a strong dedication to the well-being of animals. She took care of the animals on her 11-acre ranch during the day, especially stray dogs, and pushed for programs to spay and neuter them. She had given up the glitz and glamour of Hollywood a long time ago, and was now working on a cause she really cared about. People also knew her for being thrifty and living a simple life. Doris, even though she was a Hollywood celebrity, lived a simple life. She ate off of paper plates and kept a washing machine in her bedroom. She didn't want praise or notice, and she turned down the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Kennedy Center honors. But even though Doris chose to stay out of the press, fans and historians are still interested in her later years. The year 2019 saw the end of an era with her death, which also brought up the evil side of fame. But in the end, no one can change Doris Day's impact. She was more than just a singer or actress. She was a force of nature, a woman who always beat the odds and got over sadness. Her story is one of strength, love, and mystery, and it shows that even the greatest stars can have dark sides. Do you think that family traditions are full of secrets that come to the surface over time? Before he turned 41, what do you think you knew about Doris Day's grandson? Stay tuned for more shocking stories, and don't forget to come back to see what's new.